because it was requiring them to do a little bit more work. But once they started realizing like the lengthier their like answers were for the questions and things, the more points they got and the more owl loot they got, they started getting way more into it. And it has really helped, and it has actually really helped their writing, because I like how, it's Alfonso, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
His name will tell them to like do better with their writing and stuff. And I can see that carrying over into our writing block as well. So I feel like it's building their comprehension, and it's also helping with their typing and their writing skills that they're going to need for their end of the year test.
I also found that with the paid for version that we just got, that has really helped too, because I don't know if your kids have done it or not, but my kids, when they finish a test, they can actually write their own version of the book, so they can like do a sequel to it, and it lets them create their own book afterwards. So they can illustrate it and things like that. So that's kind of that motivates my third graders to know that when they're done with the quiz, they can actually create their own book, which again, like you said, Tara, goes with the writing. And I found that it actually, I really like the, I can't repeat everything she said because I don't want to repeat everything she said because I agree with it. But also with like motivating them, they have their trees that they have, all their different books on that they've read. So all the kids can see which books they've read, and it helps encourage them to find new books to read that of their interest level. And I found that the quizzes, like Tara said, are more higher level questions for them to think more deeply instead of just picking like A, B, C, or D. It holds them more accountable with their higher level thinking quizzes, because they can't just rely on a multiple choice. They actually have to reinforce what they read and write about it. So
yeah, definitely
that has truly helped.
Thinking, because like with my kids, with them of doing AR since first grade, they were just so used to just being like click, 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 like in such a super fast hurry, like done, and not even really having to stop about it. And that's why at first, like some of my kids, like I said, they were kind of lazy about it. Like they would just be like, oh, I don't want to do who's reading because I actually have to think.
Yep.
It holds them accountable. It definitely holds them accountable.
But it's after a couple weeks getting into it, they warmed up to it, into the idea. Like they were like, oh yeah, and they started actually seeing the benefits from it and getting to do the owl loot and actually getting that like immediate reward, I guess you could say. With
like their reward and their feedback, like that Alfonso gives them the feedback. So like if they're saying a boring question or a boring verb, or they're using their verbiage is just really boring or dull and they're repeating, they'll ask them to revise or edit, and so that's helping me out. I also found that it transforms, their experience with it just being from just them in the book to actually being able to like foster like conversations about the book, because they can actually write their review on there, and so the other kids can see it and they start having conversations about the book based on what they understood from the book. So that's helped with comprehension too.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've also found that like as they talk to their peers about like how many points they've gotten, they'll be like, well, oh my gosh, how many? And then they like talk to each other about how they added detail into their responses to get those extra points. Like it's so funny, like Jamie, I know you know Snowden, and she'll be like, well, I use this word, and like the bigger vocabulary and stuff, like the more and so just hearing them talk like that about it and like encouraging each other, like that's what I like, because they can see on the tree like how everybody's doing when I pull it up,
right?
And like they actually praise each other, which I love to see them do. So it's like helping build like their not only their academic skills, but like their like peer relationships in the classroom.
Well, that's
right,
great.
Exactly. And I think it's helped with the lower kids too, because I remember when we first introduced it, one of my resource students like blew some of my reach students out of the water with how many coins they got. And like you said, with the reach students, they're like, oh, I can just put this and be done. And then this little boy just put his heart into answering the question, and they saw like the feedback they got from that. He got way more, points of the feedback he got from his elaborate answer than just a very brief, short answer. And so I think it kind of, instead of like where AR, the kids kind of had to read books on their level, and then they would only get, certain points. So like the lower kids were only reading those half-point books. Well, here there can be a lower kid reading a lower level book, but their answers can go beyond lower level answers, and so their comprehension is rewarded with coins, and it doesn't matter what the level of book it is. So I feel like all the kids feel like there's like an even playing ground there, like everyone is equally rewarded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for your input about, I just wanted to kind of check in and see how the program is going so far at this point, and then we are looking forward to implementing this school-wide, but we wanted to, of course, start with our PLC group and see, like, we have our vertical team and how it's how comprehension skills are being addressed using the Who's Reading program. So I definitely think that comprehension is improving, and the reading stamina is improving among the students. Like, they're reading longer times, and they're reading more just not like we were saying earlier about the nonfiction books. It's been a push to get to kind of go from the fiction to the nonfiction. So I think that is encouraging them as well, not only to build stamina, but in order, like, looking better at their book choices as well, so they can see books that of value, and then building vocabulary is definitely a plus.
Well, I will have to say, like, for me too, especially since we've gotten like full access to the program, it has helped me even more because I can go in and there's like an insights option where it'll tell me like what areas my students are weak in. So like that helps for my small reading groups. Like I can mix up each week, like, oh, I see that these 4 students are needing help with citing from the text, or these 5 are needing help with inferencing. And so when I pull those small groups, I can make sure I'm hitting that so that they can improve with their next book that they do independently. So
right, I was going to say the same thing. Like, the activities are easy to differentiate to the needs of like my students, and so you can go in and you can find that. And actually, a lot of kids, the kids you wouldn't think are in the same group, like Tara said, are actually in the same group. So like kids you wouldn't normally put together, you're seeing that there are certain kids that are mastering skills, and you can put them together in your small reading groups based on what we see in Who's Reading.
So definitely one of the benefits is the flexible grouping, increased vocabulary, increased comprehension, reading comprehension. So those are some of the benefits that we've been seeing.
Right, and the increased writing about what they're reading.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out, and the increased writing about the reading. Because that's basically what text-dependent analysis is, and that's what our state, South Carolina, is really targeting with our ELA, especially with the 3rd and 4th graders with their testing. Like, okay, can you prove within the text that it said, or can you prove within the text that, this is what was being said? So yes.
And it's like an active assistant for us too, because that Alfonso character is able to give feedback when, right then and there to every single individual child, instead of just having it, while I'm doing one conference with one child about something, he's on there doing it with the rest of them. So
right. I'll make sure to document that in my because I didn't even think about it like that, like an active assistant. Yes, I'll make sure to do that.
Yeah, that is definitely super helpful.
Yes.
And some kids will listen to an owl before they listen to me.
They will. They love the avatar. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, what does Miss Clark know? But this avatar, he knows everything.
Right. Thank you, ladies. I definitely appreciate your time tonight, and we will reconvene at the next PLC meeting to talk about and discuss the implementation school-wide and how we can be of assistance with that.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
You too.
You too. Bye.
Bye.